Good morning, good afternoon, and a good evening to you, Dr. Khalid. My name is Alex, and I'm going to be presenting about my assignment 2. This is the table of contents of the presentation today, which are the introduction, problem statement, research objectives and questions, significance of the study, key terms, underpinning theory, prior research, conceptual framework, research hypotheses, and the theoretical contribution. First, a brief introduction about my topic. In today's economy, small and medium-sized enterprises, which are known as SMEs, are the driving economic force for most countries. They are able to provide job positions for locals, create new ideas, and contribute to the country's gross domestic product, the GDP. Multiple SMEs in recent years have turned towards digital transformation in order to stay competitive in the market. New technologies have been emerging as of late, and companies do want to adopt them into their business blueprint to thrive, especially in the retail industry. However, despite the increasing availability of digital technologies, Malaysian retail SMEs do face some difficulties during the adoption process. Many firms struggle to fully integrate these technologies into their business processes due to various internal and external challenges. This research paper will hopefully highlight the factors that affect the technological side of the adoption of the digital transformation process. My problem that wants to be solved from this report is to examine the challenges and adoption patterns of these technologies among retail SMEs in Malaysia. I have 3 research questions in total. Firstly, what are the key factors influencing the adoption of technology among retail SMEs in Malaysia? Secondly, what challenges do retail SMEs face when trying to adopt AI, data analytics, and Internet of Things (IoT) in the digital transformation process? And third, to what extent do these technologies contribute in improving business operations and performances during the among retail SMEs? The study aims to investigate the variables influencing technological adoption among retail SMEs in Malaysia. I have 3 research objectives in total. First is to identify the factors that are influencing the technological adoption process, which will help businesses become aware of any internal or external factors. Secondly, is to analyze the relationships between these factors and the adoption process in order to determine the effects and influence of each factor of digital transformation. Third is to evaluate the overall impact of these factors on the adoption process among retail SMEs so businesses can focus and improve on that specific variable. Next is the significance of the study and its key terms. This study is significant because it offers a thorough understanding of the variables affecting the technological adoption in the digital transformation process. It is also intended to provide retail SMEs with the benefits of adoption, which will improve their efficiency and productivity. The results can aid SMEs, managers, and owners by providing practical advice on improving their business through better planning and resource allocation. This makes it possible for them to react in real time towards growing competition and changing consumer demands in the retail sector. It can also support Malaysia's economic growth by helping to create a more competitive retail environment, which in turn can raise the GDP. And these are some of the key terms that were mentioned throughout the research paper, which some will be mentioned later on. Next, we'll be moving on to the underpinning theory and prior research done on this topic. The TOE framework is an organizational level technology adoption theoretical framework that explains the technology adoption process for businesses using 3 different elements. These 3 components have significant effects on the performance of businesses and can be used to analyze the success of one. It also showcases the need for new technologies in order for a business to have an impact on the market. The TAM framework was quite notable in research papers, but since it is subsumed by the TOE framework, it will be mentioned merely as a concept. The framework is there to provide business owners with an understanding of both organizational level and individual level factors that influence the technological adoption process. From the mountains of research that I had to sift through, it is said that digital transformation can improve the performance of retail SMEs due to the adoption of technologies. To name a few, artificial intelligence, data analytics, and Internet of Things are examples of these technologies that can act as a shift in the modus operandi of retail operations. However, despite the benefits to the business, many SMEs still struggle to adopt these technologies effectively due to some factors. The TOE framework has been mentioned countless times by many researchers, furthering bolstering its place as a foundational framework. Multiple papers have been conducted quantitative methods such as surveys and regression analysis to obtain the data and examine the relationships between different factors regarding technological adoption. As mentioned before, the most prevalent digital technology for the foreseeable future is AI, which is used as a practical solution for everyday challenges in businesses. Business owners use AI as an operational convenience, but not as a driver for major innovation. Moving on to the conceptual framework and the research hypotheses. This concept of a framework was derived from the TOE framework and with a focus on the adoption of digital technologies, namely artificial intelligence, data analytics, and the Internet of Things. As mentioned before, the framework consists of three elements, which are technological, organizational, and environmental factors. The first is the technological factors, which refer to how useful each technology is for the business's goals and how compatible it is with their existing system. The second is the organizational factor, which take into account the business financial position and digital skills to discern their ability to adopt the technologies effectively. And finally, the third is the environmental factors that involve external influences such as market competition and customers' demand, which fluctuate frequently based on the market and economical conditions. The TOE framework is suitable for this study and because it is able to reflect the inner workings of a digital transformation process in the retail sector. Based on the conceptual framework and some supporting theories, this study proposes several hypotheses to understand and explore how technological, organizational, and environmental factors can influence the adoption of digital technologies among retail SMEs in Malaysia. For my research hypothesis, I drew inspiration from the concept framework that I have done and raised three hypotheses questions. How can each of the factors from the TOE framework affect the adoption of AI, data analysis, and Internet of Things, and to what extent? And finally, the theoretical contribution from yours truly. My research, I believe, can expand on the TOE framework from the viewpoint of digital transformation among retail SMEs in Malaysia. What I believe I did differently from my other fellow researchers is that I analyzed multiple technologies rather than a singular one, and the effects that it has on the technologies themselves. By doing so, it provides a more thorough understanding of how different factors interact to influence the adoption process and its technologies. It also offers to address any gaps in the current research and to hopefully support future studies done on digital transformation. That's all from me for today. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a nice day ahead.